in Moncton, New Brunswick, and it's 12:30 p.m. and it's 30 degrees Celsius, and the humidex, or the feels like temperature at the moment, is also 30 degrees, but both of those are supposed to go up this afternoon. So my plan today is to try to find a place where I can cool off. Ironically, I'm going to go near the ocean to pick up some lighter motorcycling gear, and that's why I'm pointing toward this motorcycle, which is what I'm going to take. And I'm standing in the shade right now because once I'm ready to go, I want to get moving as quickly as possible. I'm wearing a thick leather jacket, and I want to get a ballistic nylon jacket that I have that lets the air pass more freely. So like I said, even though I'm going near the ocean to pick that up, about 20 minutes away in the town of Shediac, New Brunswick, it's still going to be too hot to stick around there. I could go to the beach and jump in the water, I guess, but even laying on the beach is too hot. So I've got a great backup plan, which is to go along the Bay of Fundy, which is also not terribly far from here, and the temperature is typically a lot cooler. We'll see if that's the case. I could look at the forecast, but I'm going to just take a ride out there and see. And the reason it is cooler is because cold water over the Bay of Fundy, the wind goes over it and pulls in a lot of moist, cool air. So even when it's sweltering and blistering hot elsewhere, it can be quite cool and comfortable over there, which is about an hour 20 minutes away or something like that. So let's go riding and see what the day brings. Well, I just arrived in Shediac, New Brunswick. I'm very, very close by. Beautiful beaches, nice water, and I've decided to forego that to find cooler temperatures. So I'm going to see how my plan works out in terms of cooling off today. Right now it's quite hot. Looking at an external thermometer here, and it says 38 degrees Celsius, but I don't think that's an accurate measurement of the temperature, even though it's in the shade. At any rate, it's very hot. But I just want to stop and take a photo here, a little video of the jacket that I was wearing to ride here. Quite hot. No air goes through it whatsoever, of course. But this is what I'm going to wear instead. Joe Rocket ballistic nylon jacket, which I've had for quite a while. Very nice to wear on a hot day. Lets the air flow nicely, obviously. And instead of jeans, I'm going to wear a pair of shorts and a pair of ballistic nylon riding pants over it. So we'll see how this setup works. It'll definitely be better than what I was wearing, but the best thing for this to work properly is to put it on and get moving, which I'm not doing now, but I will be very, very shortly. Just a little quick pit stop here in Riverview, New Brunswick, which is just across the river from Moncton. And we're looking at the Petitcodiac River, which connects to Shepparton Bay, which connects to the Bay of Fundy. And as it goes from the Bay of Fundy to Shepparton Bay to the Petitcodiac River, it just keeps on getting narrower and narrower. And by the time it gets here, there's actually a bit of a wave, because these are the highest tides in the world in the Bay of Fundy, and by the time it gets here, sort of a funnel. So there's a wave about a few feet high, enough for surfers to go down. And there was one that just went down the other day. I think they wait for optimal conditions. They don't come all the time, and there's not that many of them that do it, but it's pretty impressive to see. I haven't seen it in person, but I just saw a video the other day. They ride that wave for quite a long distance. The reason there is a wave now and there wasn't in the past is because they had blocked the river up there. You can see one bridge, and that's a relatively new bridge. Well, it's 20 years old or so. It was a metal bridge before that. And a bit further up, you can kind of catch glimpses of it, the corner of it, cars moving down there. That used to be a causeway, meaning that the river was blocked, physically blocked, and they could occasionally open it up a little bit to let a few fish in, but it really screwed up the habitat for the fish and the natural flow of the river. And when they finally opened it up, after lots and lots of pressure from a lot of people to restore the river to its original State, which is a free-flowing river. The river's been in a much better shape since then, and also, like I said, the waves are coming in bigger than they used to, and there's a bit of erosion because this is all soft mud flats essentially, but this was all just silt that was deposited over the years and just slowly eroding, but again getting it at its natural state. So I'm not sure exactly what we would have seen here years ago. We're seeing and hearing birds and nice meadows and everything. So yeah, just to give an idea of the geography here. So we I crossed that bridge there, and this is the first bridge that's all along this whole coastline. There's no bridges if you ever want to get to the other side. There is none. Right, this will get you to Nova Scotia and into the Atlantic Ocean if you go from here. So this is the first bridge, and as we go down, it just gets wider and wider, and that's where we get to the Bay of Fundy, which will be a lot cooler, hopefully. So we're gonna see. The gear that I change into is much better. Air flows through it very nicely, very comfortable, but it's getting warmer as I'm standing here. Not too bad, but it's time to get moving again. Well, I'm now in the town of Hillsborough, which is about 20 minutes away from Riverview, and my idea was to stop here to see how and if the temperature had changed since I left, because usually, or sometimes, the temperature changes around Hillsborough, but I was pleasantly surprised to see that about 10 minutes out of Riverview, halfway between here and Riverview, the cool weather, or rather just some tinges of coolness arrived. So it displaced the heat, and I felt actually something cool. And it just got cooler until I get here, and now I'm in a nice cool breeze. And I think it's actually going to get cooler as I go along. So it was a pleasant welcome surprise to see this cool weather. Right now I'm at this municipal park, I'll call it, with some vintage trains, and people are allowed to actually park here overnight with their RVs for free, which is great. It's a nice little village. There's a nice cafe and so on, and I'll might do another video at another time just to talk about Hillsborough. So yeah, I'm gonna get going pretty soon, and the next stop will be a bit further down. The Shediac River, just beyond that big water tower. The river's getting a bit wider and it's more open, so maybe that's why the cool air is picking up some of that off the cool water, I guess. Picking up some air off the cool water. Regardless of how it's coming about, I'm pleasantly surprised and happy that this is what I'm getting, and it's starting to dry off. I was quite sweaty before, but I'm feeling cooler also, maybe just because the sweat started to dry off. So over yonder is Route 914, which goes between Riverview, New Brunswick, and Alma, New Brunswick. And Alma is the small village at the gateway of Fundy National Park. At Riverside, Albert, a small town just very close to here, is where you can turn off and do an alternate route that hugs the coastline, and there's a lot of interesting things to see there. The other Route 914 mostly goes into kind of inland a bit. So this route here will follow the coastline very closely at times, and like I said, showcases some very interesting things. Over there's the Shediac Bay, which leads into the Shediac River, as mentioned earlier, and on the other side of it, in the direction I'm going to be going, is the Bay of Fundy as I approach Alma. So right here is an interesting spot. There's a sort of a dam where they're holding back the water, and I'm not quite sure what's beyond there, why they're holding back the water as opposed to having this just free flowing. Could be for irrigation or something, but they're clearly working on it right now, fixing it. Right across here where this pier is, what used to be a pier, I guess, there was an old wooden boat. Maybe it was 60 or 70 feet long that had just been pulled up there, and left there for a long time, and a couple years ago they just took it out for some reason. Maybe because the pier was eroding and they were afraid it was just going to fall in the water or something. But around here there's always lots of ducks for whatever reason. And further down, one of the spots that I'm going to be checking out, at least in August, when it's the time for the migratory birds, the piping plovers and the sandpipers to nest, which is a migratory route that they follow from the Arctic going towards South America in late summer. Very interesting. So I think this whole coastline area is worthy of its own video at some point, but right now it's very nice, kind of alternating between a cool and a warm breeze, but still very pleasant overall. Well, here I am at a small cove right next to Cap Enragé, or Cape Enrage. It's a steady, cool breeze coming in off the water. So my instinct was right to come here to cool off. Very pleasant. There's even a foghorn going off. It's a little bit of fog coming off the water. Very nice. Cape Enrage, there's a lighthouse up there, and it's also sort of a little tourist attraction where there's some zip lining and cafe and other things. I'll just pop up there after done here, just above, beyond the trees there. Just the cape right there. Anyway, this is a very rocky coastline, very different than the coastline along the Northumberland Straight where Shediac is. That's a coastline with sandy beaches, and very different than this, but it's a good place to cool off in terms of being near water and being outside of the city, but you're not going to get this cool breeze, that's for sure. But it's a great way to cool off, but this is the place to be today for me. Probably not great audio because of all the wind. But here we are at the Cape Enrage Lighthouse. And there's the foghorn, obviously. I don't know how they decide that there's enough fog to sound the foghorn, but there certainly is some fog. Across the water there is Nova Scotia. You can kind of see the outline of the land that kind of rises up above the water. It's only maybe 10 kilometers away. Something to that effect. So there's the Bay of Fundy, and beyond Nova Scotia it opens up into the Atlantic. Arrived in Fundy National Park. The town of Alma is just to the left beyond those trees, kind of hidden away back there. And as can be seen, it's low tide, very low tide. People are walking out on the sandbars and sand dunes, quite far out. When the tide does come in, it comes in fairly quickly, but certainly not so fast that somebody can't even just walk at a leisurely stroll to outrun it, so to speak. Yeah, as can be seen in the distance, some fog kind of rolls in and rolls around. Going to go a little bit higher than this and see a different viewpoint in a moment. I'm at a pretty high vantage point lookout, and you can see the sand down there where the tide's gone out, and you see the cloud, which is kind of just this rolling fog that forms and reforms based on the temperature differential from the lower and higher elevations and the coastline, wind and so on. Very nice up here. a little bit warmer than down there, but still a little bit of a breeze, but beautiful day. So I turned around from the highest viewing point in the park, and that road continues on to leave the park and follow the Fundy coastline right to the US border. And that is an adventure in and of itself, with various small towns, villages, and scenic byways to go along. So I turned down the main road of the other road in the park, which follows a coastline and has a lot of very nice hiking trails and so on. And this is kind of the end of that road, where there's this covered bridge. So you can see the date on it is 1992. It was a much older bridge than that, until I believe at some point they were trying to dislodge some ice jams with some explosives of some kind, and they misjudged and it took down the whole bridge. So they rebuilt it, and that's where the date 1992 comes in. There was a big sawmill here between 1826 and 1921, and there was also a dam here that was removed in 1985, and they left just little parts of it to show what it was like. And when they had the mill operating, up to 50 people worked here, so it was kind of like a bit of an economic engine for this remote area before it became a national park. They would just dump all the sawdust and debris right in the river here, and with the dam it clearly made a mess of the ecosystem and the fish habitats and so on. But since they opened it up, it's been returning and going back to its natural state. And this Point Wolf River leads right into the Bay of Fundy. So the town of Alma is at the gateway to Fundy National Park, which we see right here. And Alma is also a small, quaint tourist village, and also has a fishing pier where a small lobster fleet is moored and departs from during the lobster season. And Fundy, the Bay of Fundy, is renowned for one main reason, it being the title holder of the world's highest tides. And this being low tide, you can get a sense of how much the tide changes by taking a look at the boats that are resting on the bottom of the ocean floor. The record tides along the Bay of Fundy has been measured at 46 feet, and that is at another location during specific conditions of full moon and various other little factors. But it's quite impressive how when the tide comes in, these boats will be right up here at the edge of this dock, and you'd be able to walk right in pretty much. So pretty spectacular change of tides here. So this town has lots of little restaurants and shops and nice little brew pub, actually, which is a great stop along the way into the park or out of the park. I'm back at the same rest stop in Riverview as I was earlier this afternoon, and Moncton again, the Shediac River. So I left Alma a little bit less than an hour ago, and shortly after leaving there, the weather got downright chilly. Not just cool, but chilly. I had to stop and check the temperature, but it was actually 22 degrees. So I guess the way they measure the temperature is in the shade, not in direct sunlight, and probably not affected by wind. So it was chilly, but for a short period of time, but so it was very surprising. I wasn't shivering or anything, but it was just surprising just to see how cool it had gotten. And then it just became regular cool after that, and then again in Hillsborough, just after Hillsborough, felt the first blast of heat, and as I approached Riverview, it just got hotter and hotter. So right now it's pretty much the same temperature as it was earlier today. 29 degrees at the moment, so that's just 1 degree less than it was like 6 hours ago or whatever it was. At 6:45 at night. Still plenty of heat left. So great day of riding. Great chances to get cool, which I did pretty much all day long, other than right now. So I'll just finish the last few minutes of my ride and park the bike and chill out. Well, this is just an epilogue to wrap up the notion of what today's ride was all about, which was to find out which coastline is best to cool off on a hot day, and the answer is unequivocally the Fundy coastline. I've spent hot days on the Shediac, Northumberland Straight coastline, and it's pretty hot, but there's ways to beat the heat and stay cooler. But in terms of finding cool weather, it can't be found there. And yeah, definitely the real way to beat the heat is to go on the Fundy coastline.